Hello, everyone. Welcome to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is also the name of a memoir I wrote about my journey to love and compassion. I share my failures, my successes, in the hopes that my journey will inspire yours. You can buy a signed copy on my website at lindamarsanico.com and buy the book page. You can get an unsigned copy from Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores. I also have a free gift for you. I call it the cheat sheet for high vibration living. 7 exercises designed to help your energy be vibrant and in the moment. And the one I'm highlighting today is being in the moment. There are a number of exercises to help you be in that place where all things are possible. You can download a copy on my website at lindamarsanico.com. I have 2 disclaimers. One, that this broadcast does not establish a professional relationship, and 2, that the opinions expressed here do not necessarily reflect talkradio.New York City. Today, my guest is Scott Holmes. Scott is an intuitive energy practitioner and transformational coach. He has attained Reiki Master Teacher, Polarity Therapist, Risk Teacher, Theta Healer, and Find Your Voice Certification Coach, and is an Amazon best-selling author. Through monthly podcasts and one-on-one sessions, Scott is keenly aware of how each individual walks a different path, to the realization that their voice is essential to a blissful life, and he's eager to work with those curious enough to seek new perspectives and understanding to create the life they envision. Welcome to the show, Scott. And you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. I was so intrigued with what you were saying that I just got caught up with it. Hi, thank you for having me on, Linda.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. My first question, Scott, is what are the influences from your past that bring you to where you are today?
There are many, but the main ones were my daughter, who became very ill, multiply involved when she was 13 months old. She had contracted herpes encephalitis simplex 2, long name for basically the herpes virus that attacked her brain and left her just short of passing. She was 13 months old when she became ill, and after quite a roller coaster ride, she passed at 15 years old. She was my youngest daughter, and going through that, it taught me quite a few things about life, about survival, my own mortality, which I lost at a very young age, and being able to survive those things that as a parent, you don't think you ever could.
Yes. What a loss that is. How many children do you have, Scott?
I had 3 daughters, and she was the youngest of the 3.
I see.
What it taught us about resilience, about the entire family, and about how to get through it with humor, in spite of if anyone who's been in a hospital in emergency rooms and the like on a regular basis, you understand Black humor, where things that wouldn't be funny or would be outrageous to say in regular conversation becomes hilarious in that moment when you're dealing with doctors and nurses who see this all the time.
Well, humor can be helpful for the endorphins of the brain to lighten up a situation. It's something I never like to leave home without.
Humor and curiosity are the 2 things that I never leave home without, as well as that well of love that you try to carry around with you, and understanding compassion. Really, the second major hurdle that I had in my life was my wife at 38 years old was diagnosed with breast cancer. And we had a 20-year roller coaster ride with her,
Mm.
having gone through that. She was a warrior. She, on her 5th-year anniversary of being declared cancer-free, she found another lump and had to go through it again, as well as chemo, as well as radiation. And that just started 20 years of uh, up and down of FDA studies, of tests, of hospital visits. She was a lifelong teacher.
Mm.
She taught for 25 years. And her happy place was the classroom. It really, really, really was. And when she had to give that up, that's when she went from being a warrior to being a cancer patient. And it
Mm.
changed her whole perspective. And so over the years, I've helped one-on-one counseling with men and women going through breast cancer. I do hospice work now also for those going through end of life transition.
Mhm.
And all of that is because that is the gift. I say it's a gift, but it's the ability to deal with all of that.
Mm.
Um, I never thought I could. And going through grief, I never thought I'd be able to counsel others about it because I never thought I could get through it.
Well, it is quite a gift, Scott, to be able to deal with that, to get through it with humor and resilience.
Yeah,
What a
it
gift.
really is. Um, you know, I Reiki, I do Reiki, self Reiki every day, but I do Reiki with clients, and doing it with at end of life is interesting because it brings relief from the constant anxiety of people who are nearing transition. It relaxes their body physically, it
Mm.
relaxes their mind. And I often say that anything that I've ever given in that realm, I've gotten back tenfold.
Yeah.
Just the understanding, the realization, the perspective of people who are nearing um, that transition.
Such a vulnerable time for them. And then for you to be so sensitive and aware from your own life experiences to be able to help them.
Yeah, it's um, doing hospice work is interesting. You get to do a 40-hour workshop so that you can donate your time. So it's really they do an effective training program to be able to get rid of all of your preconceptions, judgments,
Mhm.
or any expectations of what end of life looks like.
I would imagine it's quite a big responsibility. So I
Yeah,
understand 40-hour work shop.
it really is. And but I'll tell you, it is so well worth it in the time that I've put into it, the people I've met, the families that I've been able to help through that time. It really is rewarding work, and something I plan on doing for the rest of my days.
So Scott, what would you say the role of spirituality is in your life?
Spirituality, I've come to define it in very different ways. I was raised Protestant, married a nice Irish Catholic girl who then we raised our children in the Catholic Church, and I converted. And as I've come through on this end of life, um, I call myself the accidental Buddhist. I traveled to Thailand, Vietnam, in throughout Southeast Asia, and I found that I was really accepting of Buddhist mentality, the Buddhist way of life, just in their perspective. Um, Here, through religion, we always think of God as out there.
Yeah.
Eastern religions find that God is within,
Yes.
and I always felt that and didn't realize that it was a thing. until I learned Buddhist and Hindu and Taoist practices and realized how we are all the essence of higher power, and we are connected to source, we are connected to God, we are in however you perceive him to be, and when we are a reflection of that. And so finding compassion in everyday experiences,
Yeah.
finding that compassion in anyone we meet, if we can make someone's life even 1 degree better,
Mhm.
I always do that.
I think of compassion as an everyday experience, as you're saying. It's one of my quotes that I think that we have an interaction. We can smile, we have choices to make in these interactions. And so we can make a choice to be loving rather than irritable. You know, when I walk down the street and someone smiles at me, I feel like a burst of sunshine, a simple thing like that. And I choose to smile at others as well. So,
My wife is one of those people that um, people are attracted to her. She smiles at cashiers and waitresses and people walking by, and she'll comment, "Oh my goodness, that dress looks gorgeous on you today." Just she just throws it out there, and it's not fake, it's not illusory, it's who she is, and she
yeah.
sees the best in people and wants them to know that, what she sees about them. And it's absolutely um, changed my perspective on life. Um, I've often said that it was a 1 million-mile journey for me from my head to my heart. And being a man, I was always very, very hard and very um, self-involved, I guess, very insular. And she really has helped me come out of that, and really to be more compassionate in everyday um, experiences.
When I think of the experiences that we have and the fact that we think and feel and act, there's an energy that goes out that is felt by all. So I've done blogs about this. I call us broadcast journalists.
I love
And
it.
so, you know, I'm sure you've walked into a room and you could feel the vibe in the room, either it's positive or negative. But to be conscious of what we're thinking and feeling and doing, saying, is an important way of being to add to the beauty and the love and compassion in the world. Now we are coming up to a commercial break. And when we come back, I'd like to ask you about the start of your spiritual journey. And so for our listeners, and also later on in the shows, Scott, there's a story about this Buddhist temple in Malaysia that we'll get you to tell. But
Okay.
anyway, for listeners, come back after the break and we'll talk to Scott about the beginning of his spiritual journey.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a purpose-driven individual looking for deeper healing, clarity, and growth? Welcome to the Expansion Room, a transformative space for purpose-driven individuals. I'm Siobhan Larice, host, licensed therapist, and coach. Join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Scott Holmes. And Scott, you'll need to mute yourself. Okay, so I'd like to find out, when did you start your spiritual journey?
I was a very late bloomer, very late. It was after my wife passed. And here I was. I had my daughters had families of their own. I was living in the house now, very quiet, and I had the cat. And the cat really didn't like long conversations. I don't know what it is about cats. They're very impatient that way. But it was the first time in my life that I had been alone. I got married very young. I was married at 19. I had my first daughter at 20, and at 25, I had 3 children. So life was very, very busy. And at 60 years old, I finally found myself alone for the first time. And I did not know who I was, what I should feel, how I could feel, all of that. A friend of mine said, let's go to Reiki. And I'm like, okay, what do I have to lose? And it was the very first time that I realized that I could see, feel, touch energy. I could see it. I could feel it. I could start to use energy. Reiki 1 went to Reiki 2. Reiki 2 went to Masters in Reiki. I've since taught it a few times. And it's all about energy. We are energy. No matter what we try and do, we are energy. No matter what modality you do, and I've done more than I listed there, to learn about who and what we are, how energy moves, how it can work in working with clients, teaching them. My job is to teach them how to do it themselves. My job is to have them heal themselves. And that spirituality, whether it was when I went to India a couple of years ago, sitting on a mountain in India and not hearing a thing except for the monkey that was in the tree behind me, and being comfortable. No one knew in the world knew where I was, and having complete disconnection from everything except for myself.
How beautiful.
Yeah, and being comfortable with that, and that knowing. And I find spirituality is finding yourself, is refining yourself, is taking all the layers that have been laid on you through life, no matter what it has given you, and being able to see yourself for the first time and listen and to hear that voice that we all have within us. And that's where, for me, where spirituality really came from, was that listening, understanding, knowing you are a part of something bigger than yourself.
Yes.
And that it's okay.
It's wonderful to feel connected. In my book, The A Train to Sedona, I have tips, and one tip is faith and the knowledge that we are all connected. And of course, prayer goes into that as well, because when I pray, I know that I'm not alone. I know that I will be responded to. It's a very fine feeling to know that.
It absolutely is. And no matter how we do it, in every religion, no matter where it is, they do the same thing, whether it's through prayer or meditation or however you want to speak it. Through this, I've used the mala, 108 beads, rosary beads are
Yes.
very much the same thing. And in every religion, there's that similar. When you're praying for someone, you're sending energy to them. So however we phrase it or kind of paint it, we're doing the same thing, and that is connecting with other people. And
Send,
that's where we are with throughout all of this, however we name it, it's connectivity.
yes, sending out the energy from prayer to others. When I feel I can't do anything for someone, I send love from my higher self to their higher self. I just keep sending love. And that feels very satisfying and peaceful to me.
Now, have you, to ask you a question, when you do that for people, do they ever say, I felt it?
I haven't had that experience.
I always send unconditional love and healing light, very much the same way you do. It's in prayer and meditation. And I visualize that person and I send it to them. And I let them know that they have it and it's there and they can receive it at any time. I always think of it as a package that's delivered and they can open it at any time that they can when they're alone, when they can
Yes.
really do that. And it changes them because they're being recognized, they're being seen, they're being thought of. They realize that you have sent that intention. And it really changes how they feel in that moment. And it's pretty gratifying
Yes,
that you can change somebody's day by doing that.
indeed. So, how did the loss of your wife kickstart your inner understanding?
I had always been dependent on her to kind of gauge where I was. She was my first wife was my compass in that respect.
Mm,
And when she was gone, I really had no compass whatsoever. I didn't have a gauge. And it was that learning of self, that understanding of self. I realized I had had so many layers of armor for survival. The loss of our daughter, and then her trials and tribulations going through it, that I had put so many layers of armor on just to get through the day, just to be able to stand upright. I was the rock that I felt I was the rock that held everything together. And realizing that that armor just took so much energy and so much out of me. And so I had gone to therapy for about 5 years after she passed. And in doing that, I shed that armor one layer at a time until I was able to kind of walk upright and feel like I was just me. I laid myself bare and vulnerable. I had a therapist who would not let me get away with a thing, by the way.
great person, great
Oh,
clinician.
she was amazing. And she would say to me, 2 years ago, you said to me this. Is that really how it is? Or which one's right? And she would call me on everything. There were days driving to the therapist where I would say, okay, how can I get out of this? Can I tell her I'm sick? Can I tell her anything? Because I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I don't know what I'm going to get into. We also did EMDR, if you're familiar with it, where it was tracking and would bring you back to different points in your life so that you could recreate it, you could relive it, but
Mhm.
also from this perspective of being a 60-year-old man who's going through it, not an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old.
Yes, yes,
And those small traumas and large traumas in your life and be able to understand them. And it really freed me from a lot of those things that I had been conditioned. And what I thought about myself and how I saw myself, and it repositioned how I understood myself to be, so that now I can live freely. I often say that I'm living my best 18-year-old life. When I was graduating high school, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to write. I wanted to travel. I wanted to do all of those things. I wanted to experience everything. And now I travel internationally 2 or 3 times a year. I I'm teaching. I'm writing constantly. And that collaboration, I do a lot of collaborative writing, allows me to open up and see those things
Yes.
really deeply. It allows me to express myself in ways that I never could before. And it's just an amazing ride that I'm finding that at 67 years old, I have just started and realized I've only done 2/3 of my life, because I have a contract to 100 years old. And I am bound and determined to make this last third of my life to be the best it can possibly be. The Tai Chi
Well,
that I'm learning now is really helping with that also.
I know several people, including myself and you now, who would like to live to 100. I'm very interested in your statement that you took your Superman cape off. Will you tell our listeners about that?
People pleaser. I was a people pleaser extraordinaire. So anytime anybody would call, I would immediately put my cape on. I'd fly off to solve their problem, no matter what was going on in my life. And that was, and I felt like that was my job, was to save everyone, absolutely save everyone. And so the first call that people had was to me, whether it
Mm.
was a flat tire, whether it was someone got hurt or somebody was in the hospital. The first person that they called was me, and I would always be there, and never, I always dropped whatever I was doing. As you well know, when you do that, the problem is whatever you're working on, you still have to get back to, and you already use up all that time for somebody else solving their problems. So therefore, my problems just got higher and higher and higher. And I never truly got through all the things that I needed to. So I started putting my cape in the closet on the hanger, so that when people called, I would take a breath and say, I can't right now. I'll be able to in a couple hours or tomorrow. And amazingly, they started finding ways to solve their own problems. I had trained my daughters as they got older, even though they were married, to call me first. Well, they started asking their husbands to be able to do those. They asked people, their friends, and it was amazing how those calls just really stopped coming. I would still help them, but I wasn't the first person they called.
How liberating.
Amazingly so.
And you allowed people to find other resources. Did you get any flack from your daughters?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dad, you've changed. No, I haven't changed. I've just stopped saying yes. That's all.
Takes a lot of courage to be assertive because people around us may not be comfortable with our changes, but it's so essential to the human spirit to be assertive.
Absolutely. I stopped being the people pleaser. I still like to please people,
Mhm.
but only on my terms now.
When you can afford to emotionally.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's self-preservation, self-love. People talk about taking care of themselves, but it's not getting a pedicure, a manicure, you know, a massage. It's about preservation of yourself and maintaining those boundaries around us.
Yes, saying no, setting boundaries, and revealing who we are to the world. This is who I am, and this is what I need. I think it's an essential part of compassion, to be assertive. I don't think we can be compassionate without assertion. People may differ in their opinion of my opinion, but it's what I feel is so. We're getting ready for a break, Scott. And when we come back, I want to make sure we have room for two things. Why it has become important for you to give a voice to men, and your story about the Buddhist temple. So we'll start off with the Buddhist. Which do you want to start off with?
We'll do the Buddhist temple, yes.
And we'll make room. Oh, sounds good. So listeners, come back for a juicy conversation.
On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Ready to serve up success with a splash? Hi, I'm Bruce Kramer, aka the Corporate Cockroach.
I'm the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
And I'm your strategy doctor, Dr. Navtej Desange, inviting you to serving up success with a splash.
Join us as we shake things up with real talk and real strategies centered around awareness, action, and accountability.
And yes, there really is a cocktail involved. Please join us and sip your way to success.
Serving up success with a splash, where wisdom meets happy hours. Cheers!
Cheers.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Scott Holmes. And I'm asking Scott to tell a story, a very interesting story about a Buddhist temple in Malaysia. You have the floor, Scott.
Well, thank you very much. So it starts off with my best friend and I were heading to Vietnam. And we were heading to Vietnam, and I went to a friend of mine who was a medium, Samantha. I had been doing some work with her and sat down for a reading. I wasn't quite sure what it was. As I'm sitting across from her, she looks off to the side and she starts talking to somebody who I can't see. And she's almost arguing with him. What do you mean? I don't understand. What is a Penang? She kept arguing with him. And I said, what was that about? She says, it was one of your guides. I said, really? He said, yes, very short-tempered, and he stormed off. I said, well, what did he say? He said, tell him he has to go to Penang to the Burmese Buddhist temple. Those are two sentences I'd never heard before in my life. I said, so what does that mean? She says, I don't know. And I'm sure I didn't. So after the session, we looked it up, and Penang, which I didn't realize, was part of Malaysia. It was a large island off the coast of mainland Malaysia. And when we looked it up, there was only one Burmese Buddhist temple in Penang. It had a 40-foot golden Buddha. Absolutely impressive. And behind it was gold filigree, and it was just absolutely amazing. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? She said to me, you're supposed to find your soul parts. Okay, what does that mean? She says, not really sure. So here I am, and I'm trying to make sense of this. My friend and I go to Thailand and Vietnam for 17 days, and I'm looking and I'm saying, wow, I really can't get to Malaysia. A week after we get back, the company that we had gone with sends me an email. And it says, okay, Singapore, Malaysia. I'm like, I've never seen that before. So I click on it. I look at the itinerary, and don't you know, Singapore, Malaysia, and the very last stop is in Penang. Okay, I look at it. I look at the hotel. It is 3 blocks from the Burmese Buddhist temple. I look up at the sky and I said, okay, I hear you. I get it. Thank you. I come home and my girlfriend at the time, I said, well, how would you like a 24-hour flight in an airplane? It's going to be, you're not going to understand the language. You're probably not going to like the food. It's going to be really, really hot. And how would you like to go? She said, sure. So 5 months later, we're with a group in Singapore going through Malaysia. And the very last day was Penang. And there was going to be about a 4-hour window in the afternoon where we were going to be able to go back to it. So the guide looks at me, winks at me and says, we have a special stop. And he stopped the bus at the Burmese Buddhist temple so that I could go because he knew it was the reason I was on the trip. I walked in and it was an open air temple. It was absolutely stunning. And this golden Buddha was just standing there. I had no idea what to do. So I sat there and just opened myself up, closed my eyes, and said, if there are any soul parts of mine that are here, I allow them in. And in my mind's eye, I saw 3 golden lights come down right into my heart space. Didn't know what to make of it and really was a little bit stunned physically. My girlfriend taps me on the shoulder and says, everybody else is gone. We need to go back to the bus. And so we walked back to the bus and it took me probably about a month to kind of realize what had happened. And I asked, in doing research, I asked why that was important. It was because my journey would be sped up, that those soul parts will complete me so that I can continue my journey much faster. I would transcend much quicker because I wouldn't be looking for those parts of me, that I would be whole. And that soul parts, the reason they were with and at the temple was because they were safe. If we, in this life, if we are damaged in battle or suddenly killed, part of our soul stays. It's not sure where to go. And so it sought safety within the temple. And that's the explanation that I was given. And I was told, just watch out for different changes in your personality because you've got parts of you that you've never had carried with you before. But it really did, I shake my head sometimes. I took the word of someone I couldn't see, and I traveled halfway around the world. I live in Boston, Massachusetts, and went to Singapore, 24-hour flight to a place I'd never been on faith.
Yes, faith is an amazing motivator. And who had you consulted? You said you asked about the soul parts, and
I asked a couple of shamans. I asked Yogini about this journey, and they all told me how important it was to be able to complete this because it is part of my ascension, if you will. It was part of my being able to understand this life, and that I would do it on a much different level.
what an
It certainly
opportunity.
was an adventure.
Certainly was. So I'm interested now to ask you, why has it was shifting 90 degrees? Why has it become so important to give men a voice in the projects you're involved with?
Oh my goodness. So I'm doing a project with a psychotherapist out of Toronto. And in her practice with men, she asks the question, when did you become a man? And I thought about how I would answer that. And it's intriguing because it all depends on how we were conditioned about what the definition of a man is. How do we define it? What does it encompass?
Mhm.
And so I'm in the process now of asking men from 30 to 100,
Mhm.
when did you become a man? And how do they define it? And we ask defining questions about it so they can tell their story. Women solve problems in a much different way than men. Men internalize. Women generally go outside. They seek the counsel of other women. They look for experience.
Mhm.
Men are taught not to ask. They are taught to just do. When I ask men these questions, they're able to tell me their life story, what their challenges were, how they got through them, how they define what a man is. What I found in my own life is that becoming a man fully is finding your inner feminine as well as your inner masculine, how you define them, how you balance them, how you are able to have them coexist. And that inner work is a reflection of your relationships outside of yourself. It is absolutely amazing when you sit down and ask a man one-on-one how they define their life and the answers that I get. I've got over 25 interviews in. I'm going to do 200. And it's for a book that we will publish the end of 2026.
Oh, it sounds
She's going to
wonderful.
she's going to do this scholastic part of that. And the way we're doing it is being able to give men a resource to be able to see who they are. Men 30 to 45, 45 to 60, and 60 and above,
Mhm.
because they all have different perspectives on the answers to these questions. And what I'm finding is that most men, younger men especially, they have either had no role models
Mhm.
or very dysfunctional role models in defining how and what a man is. Maybe they were raised by a single mom.
Yeah.
Maybe they just didn't have any role models as men. I have found that in this part of my life that I am mentoring an awful lot of men because they haven't had a dad. Their dad is no longer around, or they haven't had any guidance to
Right.
do that. And it's amazing how receptive they are to mentoring and just holding space for them.
It sounds like a wonderful project, Scott. A lot of
I'm
work, but
putting the call out to men out there. It's a 20-minute interview. And what we do is I transcribe it and then send it back to them in a readable form so that they can okay using it. We only use first names. We use generic places to live, so there's no identifiers, because the story is the most important part.
I want to put you in touch with Jacinta Yang, whose show follows mine. It's Beneath the Calm, and she's interested in helping men talk about themselves. She's hoping to have men reveal themselves. So after we finish, I'll give you her contact information.
Thank
It's
you.
going to be very helpful. So we're ready for a break. And when we come back, I have some questions about Reiki and polarity. And is it RISE, R-Y-S-E?
Rise,
Rise.
RYC.
R-Y-S-E. And listeners, come back to continue this conversation.
Misalignment within your sales team or with a client stalls deals and creates unnecessary friction for you and the client, resulting in up to 37% lower win rate. If you're in pre-sales, sales, sales management, or sales enablement, and you'd like to increase revenues, win rate, margins, client satisfaction, and stay competitive, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Art Fromm, host of the Making Seamless Sales Show. Please join me live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Scott Holmes. So, Scott, you have a number of certifications. Now, I just want you to know that in this segment, we have just about 10 minutes, and then we need to go off because there's another show after. So I may have to, we'll just moderate what we do. So you mentioned Reiki. Could you tell us a little bit more about Reiki?
Reiki is movement of energy. When we have pain, physical pain, it is blocked energy. The healing starts when the energy moves.
Yeah.
Reiki breaks up the energy so that it moves. If your elbow hurts, your body brings energy to it in order to heal it. After a while, it just continues to hurt. And so when you bring energy down through it and it allows it to flow through, all of a sudden the pain goes away. We are grounded to the earth, and we have energy that comes in through our crown all the way down and all the way back up. We're a circuit that goes both ways, up and down. And when you facilitate the movement of energy, you feel better. If you feel better, you think better and clearer. There is a clarity, there is a grounding. And when you are in that harmony, you make much better decisions about life, about everything that goes on around you, and you can be much more present within your life. Polarity therapy is what I call Reiki on steroids. It does acupressure to clear meridians, touch points to be able to relieve those parts that are just stopped, to be able to move that energy through you. And in the patterns that your body has, it allows it to work at a much, much higher level. And Rise is the use of energy to clear a room full of people. It is magnification of that energy. It is, as we find, if you've ever been a prayer circle, if you've been through a group meditation, the amplification of that energy is just so amazing. You can feel it in your body when you have that number of people. And Rise is basically focusing that energy and putting it out to the entire room full of people, healing them of what they need healed at that moment. And I know that healing is does, people look, you can't heal people. No, I don't. What I do is I facilitate energy. The healing takes place within your own body. You are your own doctor. You can heal yourself by changing energy. How is that possible? Well, if you have emotions, you can feel them in different parts of your body. Why people get ulcers? They hold their energy there, their anxiety there, and it increases the acids in your stomach, and so therefore causes problems. Well, if you change the emotional energy, if you change how it goes through your body, it will change how you feel physically. You can relieve pain. If it can cause pain, it can also release pain. And
Yes.
so all of these different modalities, no matter what, and there are 700 of them, in all sincerity, there's only one body. There's only so much energy. There's only so many touch points. There's only so many chakras that you can deal with. And being clear and doing rituals during the course of the day or in the morning, as I suggest. By the way, rituals are just habits where you are actually present. It becomes a ritual. In other words, you are present in doing that, whether it's yoga or meditation, like I do every day, or whether it is self-Reiki that I do every day. 15, 20 minutes in the morning and my day is completely different. And it becomes a ritual because it's what I need in order to stay and maintain the integrity of my body, of my emotional body, of my spiritual body, and the clarity of mind. And it's something that everybody can do.
Yes, indeed. We have a lot of abilities in our toolkit. Let's see how many minutes we have. So we have 5. Now, you are a co-host with Sarah Jane. How did that
Oh,
come about? That's how I met you.
that is how we met. Sarah Jane is one of the most heartfelt, warm, amazing women that I have ever met. She lives in Bournemouth, UK. And we were co-hosting on a panel. And she said, how would you like to be on my broadcast? She is the greatest collector of people that I have ever met. I have met people from all around the globe because of Sarah. She said, well, would you like to co-host? Really, me? I mean, I'm just a simple guy out of Boston. She says, no, I'd love you to come on. And so now it's she and I, and we interview people from all over the world, all walks of life, in all different modalities, and no matter what they do. And I have had the greatest adventures.
Yes.
Being able to talk to people from all over the globe who want to do healing work, who help people, who coach people, who allow them to be better. And it really inspires me because with all of everything that we get in the news that is very negative and everything is woe is me and the world's going to end tomorrow, the number of people out there who are giving life and love to everyone that want to do good work, it inspires me to do more. I want to talk to people. I want to get them to see the good in life. I want them to be better in their own life, to find their soul journey. I want all of that for them. And it is amazing, absolutely amazing how those ripples just continue going outward.
And so I want to ask you, how can people find you?
Well, my website is rscottholmes.com. I'm on Facebook, of course, and on Instagram, R. Scott Holmes. And it's the work that I do is one-on-one, and I do teach. And I'm now writing lead author in a book with Brave Healer Publications called From Burnout to Burning Bright.
From burnout to
Burning Bright.
Oh, that's lovely. So I want to say thank you for being with us. I want to also say that next week, my guest will be Sabina, who's with a spiritual group that has a lot to say about what's going on in the world. Now, also following my show, we have Jacinta Yang, whose show is debuting today, Beneath the Calm. And as I mentioned to you, Scott, I want to send you her email address after we get off. This has been a delightful conversation. You interviewed me with Sarah on her show, and
Yes.
now I get to return the favor. That was a lovely experience, and I've learned so much about you, your sensitivities, and I'm really excited that you took off that Superman coat, the cape.
It's liberating.
It is. And of course, you ushered in an area or an era of creativity for your daughters to find ways to good solutions.
And it made them more independent.
Yes, yes, which is a good thing. So again, thank you so much for being on the A Train to Sedona.
My
Listeners?
pleasure, and it's been amazing.
Thank you so much. And listeners, hope you enjoyed the show. We're, I think, a minute less, but it's better than being a minute more when you have a show following right behind.
I appreciate all the time.